The black waitress answers Billionaire CEO's forgotten phone, unaware that her swift action would expose a billion-dollar fraud and destroy the man who once destroyed her life. Follow now, or the algorithm might hide this story forever. Your comments and shares keep us alive. Don't risk missing what happens next. Let's begin the story. The phone wouldn't stop ringing. Jasmine's hands trembled as she stared at the glowing screen on the white tablecloth. A phone that didn't belong to her, buzzing with a call that would destroy a billion-dollar empire. The call was never meant for her. She was just a waitress. Table 12 needs you, Jasmine. Antoine Dubois appeared at her side, his French accent thick with exasperation. The suit is being difficult again. Jasmine Carter adjusted her black apron and tucked a stray curl behind her ear. Tuesday evenings at Noir and Vine were usually quiet. Soft jazz, flickering candles, the gentle clink of wine glasses. The kind of night where wealthy Manhattanites came to be seen, not to cause scenes. But Table 12 had other plans. What is it this time? She asked, already knowing the answer. The wine. Antoine's eyes rolled skyward. Just handle it before he requests the owner. Jasmine wound through the dimly lit restaurant, past white-clothed tables and leather booths. She'd worked here for 2 years, ever since her life imploded. Long enough to recognize trouble when she saw it, and Dominic Sterling was trouble. He sat alone, his broad shoulders, filling out a charcoal suit that probably cost more than her monthly rent. Dark hair, sharp jawline, and those cold gray-blue eyes that never looked up from his phone. She recognized him from the business magazines Antoine kept in the break room. CEO of Sterling Tech Industries, billionaire at 34, and currently the most demanding customer she'd ever served. Mr. Sterling, Jasmine approached with her professional smile. I understand there's an issue with the wine? He'd barely glanced up. It's oxidized. Bring me the 2019 Burgundy instead. Jasmine picked up the barely touched glass of Chateauneuf du Pape. Her sommelier training from NYU Law's wine appreciation course told her instantly the wine was perfect. He just didn't like his choice and was too proud to admit it. Of course, right away, sir. As she turned, she caught his muttered comment. Basic wine knowledge. Is that too much to ask? Her fingers tightened around the glass stem, but she kept walking. Pride was a luxury she couldn't afford. Not anymore. 20 minutes later, Jasmine was wiping down table 9 when the restaurant phone rang. Antoine called across the floor. Jasmine, your mother says it's urgent. Her heart stopped. Mama never called during her shift unless she rushed to the phone. Mama, what's wrong? Mia, I'm okay. Gloria Carter's voice came through breathless. My sugar dropped, but Mrs. Chun next door helped me. I just wanted you to know I'm fine now. Relief flooded through Jasmine. Mama, you scared me. I know, baby. Go back to work. I'll see you tonight. When Jasmine returned to the floor 3 minutes later, table 12 was empty. Dominic Sterling's plate sat half-finished, his black credit card placed precisely beside it. And there, glowing softly against the white tablecloth, was his phone. She grabbed it instinctively, scanning the restaurant. No sign of him. The coat rack near the entrance was empty. His expensive wool coat was gone. The phone buzzed in her hand. Rothstein and Associates Law. Then again. And again. Jasmine slipped it into her apron pocket and cleared his table. He'd be back. Rich men always came back for their phones. 5 minutes passed. 10. The phone wouldn't stop vibrating. Text notifications lit up her pocket like a strobe light. Finally, she pulled it out. The screen was filled with messages. Urgent. Need confirmation on contract revisions. $800 million deal. Whitmore demands signature by midnight. Call me immediately. Jasmine's legal training kicked in despite herself. This wasn't just business. This was crisis. The phone rang again, vibrating so hard it nearly fell from her hand. Her thumb hovered over the screen. This was none of her business. She should take it to Antoine, let him handle it. But something in those messages, the urgency, the midnight deadline, the enormous sum, made her chest tighten with familiar instinct. She swiped to answer. Hello, this is... Finally, a man's voice exploded through the speaker. Lucas, I've been calling for 20 minutes. Whitmore sent revised contracts, and we have 90 minutes before. He stopped abruptly. Wait, you're not Lucas Sterling. Jasmine's pulse hammered. No, sir, this is Jasmine Carter. I'm a waitress at Nora and Vine. Mr. Sterling left his phone here. The silence that followed felt like falling. Then, who is this? Do you have any idea what you've just done? I'm sorry, I didn't mean to, Jasmine stammered. Listen to me very carefully. The attorney's voice cut through her panic like a blade. My name is James Rothstein. I'm Mr. Sterling's lead counsel. We have an $800 million deal that closes at midnight tonight. Whitmore Energy just sent revised contract terms 40 minutes ago, and I haven't had time to properly review a 127-page document. If Lucas doesn't sign by midnight, the entire deal collapses. Jasmine's legal instincts stirred beneath 2 years of suppression. Sir, why would they send revisions so close to deadline? Exactly my concern. Rothstein's frustration bled through. Which is why I need you to find Mr. Sterling immediately. Check the restrooms, the street. Mr. Rothstein, Jasmine's voice steadied. I studied contract law. At NY, if you need someone to review, you're a law student? Hope cracked through his desperation. Was, she corrected quietly, but I can help. If you trust me. A beat of silence. Then, can you access his email on that phone? Jasmine's hands trembled as she stared at the lock screen. It's password protected. Try 0490. She entered the numbers. The phone unlocked instantly. How did you? His father's death date. April 1990. He uses it for non-secure devices. Rothstein's voice grew urgent. Open his email. Look for Whitmore Energy. Subject line revised partnership agreement. Jasmine's fingers moved across the screen, muscle memory from countless late-night study sessions taking over. The email appeared, a PDF attachment, glowing like an accusation. She tapped it open. The document filled the screen, dense legal text, section headings, subsections buried in subsections. Most people would see incomprehensible jargon, but Jasmine's photographic memory, honed through 3 years of law school before it all fell apart, activated like a switched-on light. Her eyes scanned rapidly. Section 3, Standard Partnership Terms. Section 5, Revenue Sharing. Section 7, Intellectual Property Rights. Then Section 9.4, C. Jasmine's breath caught. Oh my God, she whispered. What did you find? This language? Her voice rose with urgency. Section 9.4, C. It's a reverse liability transfer. It makes Sterling Tech retroactively liable for a NY product failures during Whitmore's testing phase, but the testing phase timeline isn't defined. It could be indefinite. She scrolled faster, her heart pounding as the trap became clear. Section 17B, these aren't consultation rights. This gives Whitmore board seats and veto power over all major decisions. And wait, her eyes caught the reference. Section 22 references Appendix D for performance metrics, but what? Appendix D isn't attached. Jasmine's voice went cold. They're asking him to sign a contract with undefined performance standards that could trigger a default at any time. This isn't a partnership, Mr. Rothstein. This is a hostile takeover disguised as a deal. The silence on the other end stretched for 3 heartbeats. How did you catch that so quickly? Rothstein's voice carried stunned disbelief. I've been practicing corporate law for 25 years, and I missed it entirely. Jasmine's throat tightened. Because I've seen this before. Before she could explain, a shadow fell across the table. What the hell are you doing with my phone? Jasmine's head snapped up. Dominic Sterling stood 3 feet away, his gray-blue eyes blazing with fury. His jaw was clenched so tight she could see the muscle jumping beneath his skin. Every line of his body radiated controlled rage. The restaurant went quiet. Other diners turned to stare. Mr. Sterling, I can explain. Jasmine stood, the phone still in her trembling hand, Rothstein's voice calling faintly from the speaker. You went through my private phone? Dominic's voice was ice. Do you have any idea what kind of confidential information? Sir, your attorney has been trying to reach you about. I don't care what excuse you have. He stepped closer, towering over her. That phone contains proprietary business information worth billions. You had no right. The contract is fraudulent. Jasmine's voice cracked with desperation. Whitmore Energy is trying to trap you. Dominic froze. His eyes dropped to the phone in her hand, to the contract still displayed on the screen. She watched his expression transform, fury bleeding into confusion, then sharp, focused attention. He took the phone from her hand, his fingers brushing hers for just a second. His eyes scanned the document, then lifted to meet hers. The anger was gone. In its place was something that made her breath catch. Recognition, respect, and beneath it all, something that looked almost like wonder. "Show me," he whispered, his voice completely changed. "Show me exactly what you found." Dominic's hand closed around her elbow, firm but not rough. "Not here." He guided her through the restaurant toward a private dining room in the back, away from curious stares. Antoine started to intervene, but one look at Dominic's face made him step back. The door closed behind them with a soft click. "Who are you really?" Dominic demanded, but his voice had lost its sharp edge. He held up his phone, the fraudulent contract still glowing on screen. "Waitresses don't dissect corporate fraud in 90 seconds. Jasmine took a breath, steadying herself. Section 9.4c creates cascading liability that makes Sterling Tech an insurance policy for Whitmore's experimental implementations. The language here," she pointed to a specific clause, "including but not limited to failures arising from integration, deployment, or operational implementation. That's deliberately vague. They could trigger it for anything." She scrolled down. Section 17.b uses the term strategic consultation rights, but combined with the voting provisions in subsection 3, it actually gives them board control. "And the missing Appendix D?" Her eyes met his. "That's intentional. They'll define those metrics later, after you've signed. Metrics you'll never be able to meet." Dominic stared at her, his expression shifting from skepticism to astonishment. "This would have bankrupted us within 6 months, or forced a fire sale acquisition," Jasmine added quietly. "Either way, they'd own your technology." He ran a hand through his dark hair, loosening its perfect styling. "You just saved my company from bankruptcy." His voice dropped. "How does a waitress at Knorr and Vine know more about predatory contracts than my 25-year attorney?" The question hung between them like a blade. Jasmine's hands twisted together. "I'm not just a waitress. I was at NYU Law School. Was? I completed 3 years. I was ranked 3rd in my class." The words came harder now, each one a stone she'd carried for too long. "I specialized in corporate law, contract analysis. I was going to be a corporate attorney. What happened?" Dominic's voice had gone soft. "Someone framed me for plagiarism." Jasmine's voice cracked, despite her efforts to control it. "A paper I wrote on predatory contractual clauses. Ironic, isn't it? They planted evidence in my cloud storage, made it look like I'd copied from an obscure legal journal. I fought it, but he had connections. His family had influence with the dean's office." She looked up, meeting Dominic's eyes. "My scholarship was revoked. I was expelled. No law school would touch me after that, so I waited tables." A bitter smile. "Turns out recognizing wine oxidation doesn't require a law degree." Dominic's expression had completely transformed. The arrogant CEO was gone. In his place stood a man who understood loss, who recognized a particular devastation of having your future stolen. "You didn't deserve that," he said quietly. "No one does. But powerful people don't care about deserve." He reached into his jacket and pulled out a business card, pressing it into her hand. "I want to hire you, legal consultant. I need someone to review every contract we have with Whitmore Energy." Jasmine stared at the embossed card. "Mr. Sterling, I'm not a lawyer." "I can't." "Dominic," he corrected. "And you're better than most lawyers I know. You proved that tonight." His gray-blue eyes held hers with unexpected intensity. "Say yes." She pocketed the card, her hand trembling slightly. "I'll think about it." As she turned toward the door, Dominic spoke again, his voice carrying a weight that made her pause. "Whitmore Energy killed my father." Jasmine turned back slowly. 4 years ago. His jaw tightened. "Equipment malfunction at our testing facility," they said. But the safety systems had been manually overridden. The security footage mysteriously corrupted. His eyes were steel wrapped in pain. "I've never believed it was an accident." "You think Whitmore. I know they did. I just can't prove it yet." He stepped closer. "I think you understand what it's like to be destroyed by powerful people. To have them take everything and walk away untouched." Jasmine's throat tightened. "Yes, I understand that. Then help me make sure they don't do it again." She nodded once, unable to speak, and slipped out of the private room. The restaurant felt surreal as she walked back through it. The same tables, the same soft jazz, but everything had changed. Antoine raised questioning eyebrows, but she shook her head. Not now. She grabbed her coat and stepped into the cool Manhattan night. Her phone buzzed in her pocket. Unknown number. I know what you did tonight. Stay away from Sterling, or I'll make sure everyone knows what you really are, D.W. Jasmine's blood turned to ice. Her hand shook so violently she nearly dropped the phone. D.W. Darius Whitmore. The man who destroyed her life had found her again. Jasmine barely slept. Darius's text message flowed behind her eyelids every time she closed them. By 6 a.m., she'd given up trying. Her phone rang at 7:13. Jazz, tell me you didn't do what I think you did. Kaisha Williams's voice came through sharp with panic. Jasmine sat up in bed. Kaisha? What's wrong? Darius Whitmore Jr. is asking about you. Her best friend's words tumbled out rapid fire. Someone told him you were with Dominic Sterling last night at Noor and Vine. He's been calling people from our old study group, digging for information. Jasmine's blood turned to ice. How do you know? Marcus Chun called me an hour ago. Sideras contacted him, asking if he knew where you were working, if you were involved with Sterling Tech. Kaisha's voice dropped. Jazz, this is the man who destroyed your life. What are you doing? I helped stop a fraudulent contract, Jasmine said quietly. And now Sterling wants to hire me. Are you insane? Darius will come after you again. I know. Jasmine stared at Dominic's business card on her nightstand. But maybe it's time I stopped running. 2 hours later, Jasmine stood in the lobby of Sterling Tower, a gleaming 42-story monument to innovation and wealth. Her reflection in the polished marble looked small, out of place. The elevator ride to the executive floor felt like ascending to another world. Miss Carter? A woman in her late 50s approached with cool professionalism. I'm Patricia Hayes, Mr. Sterling's executive assistant. He's expecting you. Patricia led her through a modern workspace of glass and steel to a corner office that made Jasmine's breath catch. Floor-to-ceiling windows offered a panoramic view of Manhattan. Minimalist furniture, clean lines, and an atmosphere of controlled power. Dominic stood by the windows, but turned when she entered. He'd shed his suit jacket, sleeves rolled to his elbows. Something about his posture was different, less guarded, more open. You came, he said, and she heard genuine relief in his voice. You made it hard to say no. Good. He gestured to the conference table. Because I'm about to make it harder. I want to hire you for 2 weeks. $15,000. Your only job is to review every contract we have with Whitmore Energy and their subsidiaries. Jasmine's mouth went dry. $15,000. That was 6 months of rent, her mother's medical bills, everything. That's excessive for a consultation. Not when you consider you saved me $800 million. His eyes held hers. And not when you factor in what you know about how the Whitmores operate. Jasmine's defenses rose. What exactly do you know about me, Mr. Sterling? Dominic, he corrected. And I know about Darius Whitmore, Jr. She froze. How? I had you researched. Background check, standard procedure before hiring consultants. He moved closer, his voice gentle. I know about NYU law, the plagiarism accusation, his father's influence with the board of trustees. Shame burned hot in Jasmine's chest. So you know I'm damaged goods. I know you're brilliant, Dominic corrected firmly. I know they destroyed you because you said no to an entitled predator. I know you lost everything for having principles. His gray-blue eyes locked onto hers with intensity that made her pulse quicken. And I know you're the only person who can help me destroy them. Before Jasmine could respond, Dominic's phone rang. He glanced at the screen, blocked number, and his expression hardened. He hit speaker. Mr. Sterling. Darius Whitmore Jr.'s voice slithered through the office like oil. Jasmine's entire body went rigid. I hear you've hired some new talent. Dominic's jaw tightened. What do you want, Whitmore? Just calling to offer friendly advice. Darius's tone carried a smile Jasmine could picture perfectly, cold, calculating. Your consultant? She's playing a dangerous game. Some people don't learn their lesson the first time. Is that a threat? It's a reminder Miss Carter knows what happens to people who interfere with my family's business. A pause. Tell her I said hello. The line went dead. Silence filled the office like a held breath. Jasmine's hands trembled in her lap. 2 years of carefully built distance, of staying invisible, of surviving, shattered in one phone call. Dominic moved to his desk, his movements controlled but his voice steel. "Patricia, get Marcus Reed on the phone, now." "Dominic, I should go." Jasmine started to stand. "Pack a bag." His words stopped her cold. "You're not going home tonight? What?" He turned to face her, his expression absolutely resolved. "Whitmore doesn't make empty threats. My head of security will collect your mother and bring her somewhere safe." His eyes softened slightly. "And I'm not letting you out of my sight." Dominic's penthouse occupied the entire top floor of an Upper East Side building that probably had its own zip code. As the private elevator doors opened directly into his foyer, Jasmine felt the wealth gap between them yawn wider than the Manhattan skyline visible through floor-to-ceiling windows. Minimalist luxury surrounded her, white marble, clean lines, art that was probably worth more than her entire building. The guest suite he showed her was bigger than the apartment she shared with her mother. "Your mom is safe," Dominic said, reading the worry on her face. "Marcus just texted. They're halfway to my sister's estate in Boston. Natasha's already prepared a room for her. You didn't have to do this." Jasmine's voice came out smaller than she intended. "Yes, I did." His tone left no room for argument. "Get some rest. We'll start work in the morning." But Jasmine couldn't rest. By 9 p.m. she found Dominic at his dining table, surrounded by file boxes and a laptop, his tie discarded, and sleeves rolled up. "Couldn't sleep either?" he asked without looking up. "Mind if I help?" He gestured to the chair beside him. For the next 3 hours, they worked in focused silence broken only by the rustle of paper and Jasmine's occasional sharp intake of breath. Contract after contract revealed the same insidious patterns she'd spotted in the $800 million deal. "This one with Meridian Solar," Jasmine said, highlighting a section. "Same reverse liability clause, different wording. And here," she pulled up another file, Tech Fusion Systems. "Another missing appendix that defines performance metrics." Dominic leaned closer to read over her shoulder. "How many?" "6 so far, all within the last 5 years." Her fingers flew across the keyboard, cross-referencing dates and subsidiary names. "Wait, make that 12 companies." Her voice dropped to a whisper. "Dominic, they've been doing this systematically, targeting renewable energy startups, clean tech innovators, anyone who threatens their fossil fuel empire." She looked up to find him staring at her, his expression unreadable. "What?" "You're extraordinary," he said quietly. Jasmine deflected, returning her eyes to the screen. "I'm just doing my job." His hand covered hers on the table, warm and solid. The contact sent electricity up her arm. "No, you're changing everything." Their eyes met, held. The city lights cast shadows across his face, softening the hard edges of the CEO into something more human, more real. Jasmine felt the pull between them, magnetic, dangerous, undeniable. She pulled her hand away, standing abruptly. "It's late." "I should." "Jasmine." His voice stopped her. "Why did you really agree to help me?" She turned back, exhaustion stripping away her careful defenses. "Because I've been afraid for so long." "Of what?" "That I'll never be more than what he made me." Her voice cracked. "A liar, a fraud, someone whose entire future could be erased with fabricated evidence and family connections." Tears burned behind her eyes. "That no matter what I do, I'll always be the waitress who destroyed her own life." Dominic stood, closing the distance between them in 2 strides. His hands framed her face, thumbs brushing away tears she hadn't realized were falling. "You are the most honest person I've ever met," he said fiercely. "You risked everything to stop a fraud you had no obligation to expose. You see patterns career lawyers miss. You have more integrity in your smallest finger than Darius Whitmore has in his entire family." The air between them crackled with tension. His gaze dropped to her lips. She swayed forward, closing the space. He stepped back. "Not like this," he said roughly. "Not when you're vulnerable, when you think you owe me something." His eyes were dark with want and restraint. "When this happens, and it will, I want you to have no doubts." Jasmine's breath came unsteady. "Dominic." "But there's something else." He moved back to the table, creating necessary distance. "I've been contacted by a federal prosecutor. Rachel Morrison, U.S. Attorney's Office, Southern District. For what? She's building a case against Whitmore Energy. Securities fraud, wire fraud, corporate espionage. His eyes found hers. She's been investigating them for 18 months. When I sent her our contract analysis tonight, she called within an hour. Jasmine's pulse quickened. What did she say? That our evidence confirms patterns they've been tracking. That with testimony from victims, they could bring indictments. He paused. She wants to meet you, Jasmine. Your testimony about what Darius did at NYU, it fits a pattern of witness intimidation and evidence fabrication they're documenting. Hope flared in Jasmine's chest, terrifying and brilliant. You think they could, actually? Before she could finish, every light in the penthouse went dark. Emergency exit signs glowed red in the sudden blackness. The city lights beyond the windows made the interior seem even darker by contrast. Dominic's hand found hers instantly. Don't move. What's happening? Someone cut the power. His voice was calm but steel-edged. He pulled out his phone, the screen's glow illuminating his face. Building-wide outage. That's not a coincidence. In the hallway outside the penthouse door, footsteps echoed. Heavy, deliberate, coming closer. The footsteps stopped outside the door. Jasmine's heart hammered so hard she thought it might break through her ribs. Dominic positioned himself between her and the entrance, his body a shield. Then the lights flickered back on. His phone buzzed. Marcus here. Building-wide power surge. Transformer blue on the street. We're secure. 30 seconds later, Marcus Reed appeared, a solid African-American man in his 50s with the calm efficiency of former Secret Service. He swept the penthouse while Dominic kept Jasmine's hand locked in his. He didn't let go even after Marcus gave the all-clear. The U.S. Attorney's office at Federal Plaza felt like walking into the machinery of justice itself. Rachel Morrison met them in a conference room, sharp-featured, no nonsense, probably mid-40s, with eyes that missed nothing. Miss Carter, Mr. Sterling. She laid out a file 2 inches thick. Whitmore Energy has been under federal investigation for 18 months. Wire fraud, securities manipulation, witness intimidation. Her gaze fixed on Jasmine. Your academic case fits a pattern we've been documenting. Darius Whitmore Jr. has destroyed 4 other people's careers using identical methods. Jasmine's breath caught. I wasn't the only one? No, but you're the first one brave enough to come forward. Morrison's expression softened fractionally. The others were too afraid. He's very good at making examples. Will you testify before a grand jury? Morrison asked. Jasmine's throat tightened. Every instinct screamed to run, to hide, to survive. But Dominic's hand squeezed hers beneath the table, solid, steady, present. Yes, Morrison nodded. We'll need every contract you've analyzed. Documentation of the fraud patterns? She turned to Dominic. And Mr. Sterling, your father's death is now part of this investigation. Shock flashed across Dominic's face, followed by something fierce and satisfied. You think we're looking into it. We're executing search warrants tomorrow morning, Morrison continued. Whitmore Energy Headquarters, Darius Jr.'s residence, homes of senior executives. This becomes public in 24 hours. Her eyes held theirs. Stay safe. Cornered animals are dangerous. As they exited Federal Plaza, Jasmine froze. Across the street, partially hidden by a column, Darius Whitmore Jr. He held the phone to his ear, eyes locked on them. Even from this distance, she could see his smirk. Then he vanished into the crowd like smoke. That night, Dominic's phone rang. Unknown number. He answered on speaker. Heavy breathing. Then she'll pay for what she's doing. And so will you. The line went dead. Jasmine whispered, He's not going to let this go. Dominic pulled her close, his arms wrapping around her like armor. Neither am I. The news broke at 6:47 a.m. FBI raids Whitmore Energy, executives detained. Jasmine and Dominic watched from his penthouse as helicopters circled Whitmore's headquarters. Darius Sr. and Jr. were both led out in handcuffs, their faces stone masks for the cameras. The stock plummeted 67% in 4 hours. When Jasmine finally broke down crying, Dominic held her, not as her employer, but as the man who'd fought beside her. Relief, vindication, and 2 years of suppressed pain poured out against his chest. 3 weeks later, Jasmine sat before a grand jury and told the truth about NYU, the planted evidence, the systematic destruction of her future. She presented the contract analysis that revealed Whitmore's 5-year fraud pattern. 4 other victims testified, 2 people Darris had destroyed, finally brave enough to speak. The indictments came down like thunder, 23 counts of federal fraud. 3 months after that, both Whitmores accepted plea deals to avoid trial. Darrius Jr., 8 years federal prison. Darrius Sr., 12 years Whitmore Energy dismantled and sold for parts. The public confession included every detail, including the academic fraud he'd manufactured to destroy Jasmine Carter. NYU's formal apology arrived with a full scholarship to complete her degree. 6 months later, Jasmine walked across NYU Law's campus again, not as a ghost of what might have been, but as the top student in her final year. She worked part-time as Sterling Tech's legal counsel, reviewing contracts that would never again hide poison pills. Gloria Carter lived in a comfortable apartment near campus, her diabetes managed, her pride intact. The scholarship fund Dominic had established in Robert Sterling's name paid for everything. Kaisha joined Sterling Tech's legal team. Antoine and the Noir and Vine staff received bonuses that changed lives. Justice had been slow, but it had been complete. On a cool October evening, Dominic took Jasmine to a rooftop restaurant overlooking the city, where their story began. "You gave me back more than my company," he said, taking her hands across the candlelit table. "You gave me hope, justice." His voice dropped. "Love." He pulled out a velvet box. Inside, a sapphire ring surrounded by diamonds, his mother's. "Marry me, Jasmine Carter. Not because I saved you, but because you saved me." Through tears and laughter, she whispered, "Yes, sometimes the call that changes your life isn't meant for you. But when you answer with courage and truth, you don't just save others, you save yourself." Jasmine learned that justice delayed isn't justice denied, and that the greatest wealth isn't measured in billions, but in finding someone who sees your worth when the world tried to erase it. If this story inspired you, share it with someone who needs to hear that truth always wins. Follow for more stories of justice and love. Your support means everything.